It's inspirational to see Dr. Basu and Dr. Basu to see all your work getting translated into different algorithms, and I fully appreciate the motive that we want to take it to the masses, especially in India where there are lots of challenges, and we are addressing only a small part of it. And hopefully, through this journey, we can merge together again and find pathways of bringing it to people. And with that, I think I will talk about InsuFlow, which is a project which is translating into a company. Uh, the company is called Open Med Labs. It's a startup incubated at IISc. Started from my lab. We initially started working together with Dr. Radhakant, had an imprint project together, and then said we will work on the pump first and let them work on the algorithm, and then we're trying to merge, figuring out the pathways going forward. The goal of Open Med Labs is primarily to bring affordable, accessible technologies, especially in care in the area of diabetes care, uh, to the institute. My colleague Deval, he was originally a student in the institute, and he's stuck around to kind of develop this pathway. And primarily, I'm presenting his hard effort and the team which is around us to take this forward. The way we do this process is slightly different compared to a pure engineering process. We are very concerned that we are working with human beings, and therefore a user-centric approach is picked up. Here we are looking at a pathway of developing a medical device, so definitely it's to be used by humans, and we have a process which is called user in the loop engineering design approach, right? So user being, in this case, human beings who are using the pump, and the process looks like an engineering design process where you identify the task, what is to be done, you build some concept, but you always take feedback. And of course, that's the way how it should be done. But often when you do pure engineering design, it ends up being a product, and then you go and test it. So we have tried to overcome that. There are challenges of doing that with the medical devices because we can't test everything when it's raw state on human beings. So that's the approach we're taking. Of course, artificial pancreas does not need any more introduction in this audience because we know it's a triad of the glucose sensing, hopefully continuous glucose sensing, control algorithms, and the pump, right? And we have myriads of things which combined talk to each other. Hopefully, they talk to each other, and they allow us to control the glucose level in the body, which is sensed by the glucose sensor, and then control algorithm takes over as well, right? So sensors, we have different algorithms available out there, available in the sense they're in use, but not necessarily available. Some of them are because OpenAPS is an open source algorithm, so somebody could use that. CamAPS is work from Cambridge, and I know Abhishek is working on something, and there are other algorithms which are out there. But there's also a third pillar in this triad, which is the insulin pump. There are multiple options there again, but they don't again talk to algorithms freely. So everybody is kind of developing all the three things together or trying to do this. So we took a slightly different approach. We said, let's work on the insulin pump and figure out how it'll work on the other piece. And of course, that's all is a challenge on its own, in the sense that the cost of an insulin pump is not affordable in India, right? It costs, the latest ones cost 6 lakhs and above, which have some control algorithm built in, but not just the cost of the pump, but also the cost of recurring consumables with them, right? You buy a car and a scooter every year to manage your insulin if you have to do that, right? That's definitely not feasible for majority, and I would say vast majority of Indian population. So with that in mind, I think we kind of looked forward to, we are on a way to develop this pump, which is a mock-up of the design is here, but how does it look like? We have been working on this since Abhishek and us started, Professor Radhakant and us started a project earlier. We have developed a prototype version which has been tested, animal tested. I'll just show a snippet of how it's functioning. It's the earlier prototype about 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, where the functionality of the device was tested in the lab. It is able to perform all the functions: basal delivery, basal delivery, and this small orange drop which you see is representative of the fluid coming out will be replaced by insulin. Going forward, of course, we have its lower cost because we have a different mechanism by which we are approaching. It's a patented mechanism. We are able to take a different approach of delivering with the similar accuracy. Of course, we don't have the sensor part and we don't have the control algorithm part. What we are hoping to do in this process, or what we're planning to do in this process is to open up the APIs so that this can be tied together with other open source or other algorithms, and probably talk to other sensors as well to generate that. So it's potentially the first insulin pump to be designed and commercially launched in India. Of course, design process is going on. We are figuring out how to manufacture in India. There are challenges in that process, but that's a journey which is ongoing. But of course, we realize that this is not something which we should just go ahead and put it to people when you don't have sufficient accuracy. And we have done lots of studies in the lab for that. This is the earlier work done for validating the clinical, or rather not clinical, this is preclinical in the lab delivery accuracy testing. We are within 5%, which is acceptable range for clinical delivery. This is bolus delivery accuracy test done in the lab, but not that's stopping at that. We have looked at animal investigations as well. At the GLP certified lab, basal and bolus delivery accuracy from this pump were tested. We found them to be suitable for usage further. I'll show you some data going forward as well. Delivery accuracy within acceptable range, or also the range of variations, they kind of overlap with each other, both for both basal and bolus delivery accuracies as well. These are standardized tests which we have seen in other pumps being developed to be evaluated as well. But of course, there are challenges which we have. Once we are speaking to users, we find out there are challenges which people find. And one of them is, of course, non-detection of blockage. Right? So we put in some efforts to develop a new mechanism by which we can detect occlusion. And we found that our approach gave a significantly faster detection of occlusion in this process. So in case there are some issues happening with the pump, you're able to figure it out. And these kind of things we are able to do because we constantly interact with the users, coming to the lab or calling them over or video chat and showing them what progress we are making. Whom are we targeting this for? We have, of course, type 1 diabetic people with type 1 diabetes are primary users of the pump. But of course, there are populations which are type 2 diabetics and heavily insulin dependent as well, who will probably benefit from it. But of course, we have to understand the complexities in handling them. Right now, it's only single hormone delivery. So type 2 diabetic as well. Sorry, just some animations there. Numbers are large, of course, in India. We have about 10 lakh people in India who have type 1 diabetes. Only 0.5% of them are able to use the pump, right? In Western society where it's covered by insurance, 30%, 40% easily is covered. In some places, up to 60, 70% also people are using them. Again, there are other challenges with using pumps, so not everybody is using them. Of course, type 2 diabetic space is also there are people who are insulin dependent and they might also benefit from it, but we had to build sufficient studies to prove that. Going back to the point about the cost of a pump currently is 10 times the median monthly salary of a human adult in India. So the current approaches do not work that way. So hopefully bringing it at a more affordable point will be beneficial. Not only that, we have only one major player who is providing pumps in India, and of course there should be more choice so that we can cater to that. Right. So in other geographies, we see that 7, 8 players are there, so you have a bit more choice of doing that. So where are we in our timeline? We have done, as I showed you, animal studies and usability studies. Usability studies, human beings testing what the functionality of different parts are, how they look and feel, and are they able to do the accurate activities which are planned for them. We are on the regulatory pathway. We have got our initial test license from the CDSCO, and device size reduction and final design for manufacturing is going on. There are still some standards and other pilot manufacturing tests which will go on during this year, and hopefully we can start with some clinical evaluations very soon. As in, we already, from a regulatory point of view, we don't need to do these activities, the clinical evaluation, because once we show the lab accuracy is sufficient, but I think we want to build the confidence that this is doing correctly. So those studies are to be planned. Of course, we are blessed with Dr. Mohan's guidance and Jazz as our advisors. A large team. These are somewhat older photos. We're scrambling to get some of the larger team which we have with us which is supporting this work. Lot of interns, students, engineering background people, but also design researchers who talk to people and understand how this kind of works. And we have been blessed with also support from a lot of other organizations as well, including Breakthrough T1D, previously JDRF, for this scale-up project. I said, always been guided by people who are in the space. Hopefully, we will be able to bring this pump to usage. With that, I will stop. I'll just